Our next story on cyberspacewar.com from jalopnik.com. IBM wants to control your car, where we note right at the outset that IBM is the solutions company, the final solutions company, with a link to IBMandtheholocaust.com. A patent application filed by IBM engineers reveals the company's developing technology that will allow governments to shut down the engines of private automobiles via traffic signals. It's like Skynet, only much, much, much worse. Engineers from International Business Machines, suddenly free from the burden of making computers, with the backstory on that from Gizmodo, but we're not getting into that. They're hoping to ruin the driving experience by handing over the ability to stop and start car engines over to traffic lights, railroad crossing gates, and other transportation signals. The goal of the system is to lower fuel usage and optimize the movement of vehicles through intersections by controlling engine operations remotely via traffic signals. A railroad crossing could sense the vehicles in the general vicinity were going to be stuck for a while and would then cut the power to save gas. It's similar to the start-stop systems on a few modern cars, but taken to perverse extremes. We have links in there, and you can, of course, just link up and see the patent application. And again, like I said, more from Gizmodo. But yeah, IBMandtheholocaust.com, IBM and the Hollerith punch cards. The long and short of it is what helped automate the Holocaust. Our final story on cyberspacewar.com is one we discuss on the most recent episode of The New World Next Week, my weekly video series with James Corbett of CorbettReport.com. Pentagon Cybercom preps war against the American people. This article from Kurt Nimmo. NSA Director Lieutenant General Keith Alexander told the Senate Armed Services Committee in April that he would work to protect the privacy rights of Americans online. It's an interesting comment coming from a guy who heads up an organization responsible for a massive program of illegal dragnet surveillance of domestic communications and communication records of millions of ordinary Americans since at least 2001. NSA is the only place in the U.S. government that has the capabilities we need for defense of the private networks. James A. Lewis, senior fellow and cybersecurity expert at the Center for Strategic and International Studies, he told the CIA's favorite newspaper that last year. That would be the Washington Post. We need to find a way to use those capabilities without putting civil liberties at risk. CSIS, we should note, the aforementioned Center for Strategic and International Studies, is an insider think tank dominated by the likes of Zbigniew Brzezinski, Brent Scowcroft, Henry Kissinger, and other such freedom lovers. Threats against computer networks in the U.S. are grossly exaggerated. Dire reports issued by the Defense Science Board and the CSIS, quote, are usually richer in vivid metaphor with fears of digital Pearl Harbors and cyber Katrinas than in actual foundation, end quote, writes Evgeny Muravtsov, a Belarus-born researcher and blogger who writes on the political effects of the internet. Muravtsov notes that much of the data on the supposed cyber threat, quote, are gathered by ultra-secretive government organizations which need to justify their own existence and cybersecurity companies which derive commercial benefits from popular anxiety. That pretty much lays it out right there on a number of subjects. You could extrapolate that out to all the other topics that we'll cover. Our misleaders pose as our saviors, justify their existence, and the revolving door from administration to the supposed private sector, commercial benefits. Last Friday, May 21st, 2010, Lieutenant General Keith Alexander of the National Security Agency was appointed to head up the newly activated Cyber Command, a subordinate unified command under United States Strategic Command, that's STRATCOM, quote, designed to conduct virtual combat across the world's computer networks, according to The Guardian. The ceremony held at Fort Meade, Maryland was low-key. as The Guardian noted, and as we note, it was low-key to not draw media attention that the military is going to fight the net like an enemy weapons system. Like they said, like they wrote down in the Information Operations Roadmap. Closing it out, though. Early last week, and we covered this last week on Media Monarchy, the Air Force assigned approximately 30,000 digital troops to the front lines of cyber warfare, a number that represents a third of the troops in Afghanistan. Now, the Air Force Times, from the military horse's mouth, airforcetimes.com, wrote on May 19th, quote, "The transformation is part of the service's larger emphasis on cyberspace operations and merging most computer system operations and network warfare functions under Space Command's 24th Air Force, based at Lackland Air Force Base in Texas." Now, the flashback to only 2 weeks ago to again help put this a little bit more into perspective for you. From defensetalk.com, Pentagon says military response to cyber attack possible. And just as we heard in that clip, just say for shits and giggles that we attack Iran, we would also attack their computer systems, right? Oh yeah, of course. So reverse engineer that. So if we said someone attacked our systems, or we're attacking someone's systems, we're going to follow it up with traditional guns and shooting and killing people, like we're so brutally good at. We being the hijacked Western world. And again, this is all prepping us for the coming of, as Webster Tarpley terms it, virtual flag terrorism. Again, so much and more, all on cyberspacewar.com. Let's actually, I forgot, we do have one clip again from the military horse's mouth. This goes back to last summer, pretty much when we started cyberspacewar.com, and we started to really see the prep for a cyberspace war.
Now, here's your Pentagon Channel report.
Defense Secretary Robert Gates has established a new military command designed to help the Pentagon deal with the growing threats to its digital and computer networks. U.S. Cyber Command, which will report to U.S. Strategic Command, is expected to begin initial operations in the fall. Pentagon Press Secretary Jeff Morrell.
This is part of a holistic government-wide effort to better organize and situate ourselves to deal with this very real threat, and it is a complement to efforts that are taking place elsewhere within the United States government.
Secretary Gates reportedly plans to recommend Lieutenant General Keith Alexander, currently the director of the National Security Agency, to receive his 4th star and lead the new Cyber Command. Initial indications are the command will be headquartered at Fort Meade, Maryland.
Now, that clip, again coming from the military horse's mouth, is almost a year old, and you can pretty much hear that everything has fallen out, just as they, probably said might maybe happen. Keith Alexander of the NSA and the military is going to get his 4th star, and they're going to start up something called Cybercom, or at least they're now going to announce that we have Cybercom and announce it to the people after they've already set it all up for the last decade plus. And it'll probably be located at Fort Meade, like it's going to be, where the NSA is. Hopefully, my friends, that will whet your appetite for some of the things that are going on. And again, that's why I felt the need to start up these other sites and these other avenues, because we can see all these attacks coming from all these other different directions. And again, it's all just about taking what activates or aggravates you, that you're passionate about, and hit the ground running with it. It's easy to do. I ain't the smartest guy in the world, but I can use a lot of free software and free materials. And again, you just gotta want it. You gotta want to be excited about learning and sharing this kind of information. And again, you don't have to be very politically motivated or activated to know that things aren't really going right, are they? Things aren't going right, your belly says. So again, that's all the latest from cyberspacewar.com.